Hello and welcome back to another devlog for ModMasks, an action VR game that I'm solo developing. Up until now, I've been using many placeholder assets as I developed this game, as many other developers would expect. I told myself I wouldn't spend too much time on the art and polish at this stage of development, but since I have been creating content around my game and trying to share it with as many non-developers as possible, I figured it may be worth the time and effort to give a bit more juice to some aspects of the game. I think this will help others get a better idea of the game and thus be able to give more meaningful feedback, and also help keep myself inspired as well. In this devlog, I want to go over all the updates that have been made since the last devlog, and I would love to hear which updates you like best or still need some work on down in the comments. But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and feel free to join the Discord server to stay up to date on beta testing opportunities. A link to the Discord can be found in the description below. Let's start with the mask model update. I was getting tired of the amateur looking mask model that I created by hand, so I decided to look for a pre-made asset that would fit the game well. I ended up finding this Japanese Oni mask model, which I thought looked pretty dope. The only real problem with this model is that it's made up of 1.6 million triangles, which is a lot of resources to use just for the mask model. So I took this model and reduced the triangle count in Blender and updated it everywhere the old mask model was used with this new one. I also used Photoshop to update the textures, so now that we have a red, blue, and yellow mask just like before. Next, let's look at all the updates to the attack visual effects. Starting with the red mask, I updated the fireball power to look more like, well, fire. As before, when you press the A button, the player's hand animation changes to indicate that they are now in mod mode. In order to charge an attack, you need to hold the grip button. Before, I was spawning a fireball object to symbolize this, but with this update, I placed the visual effect onto the hand itself to make it look like it's burning and give the player a sense of power. Pulling the trigger, of course, shoots out a fireball. Right now, I have all the enemies set to 100 health, and these fireballs are doing 50 damage each with a 2-second delay between shots. This is supposed to operate like a shotgun if this was a classic FPS game. I still need to add cooldowns to all the mask power attacks, but that will come later. For the blue mask, the power is ice and the type of weapon it's supposed to behave as is a submachine gun. For the charge effect, I added these crystals to the back of the hand and a sharp sound effect that again is meant to make the player feel like they are wielding something powerful. Holding the trigger button down will shoot out icicles at a rapid rate, but they only do 10 damage each. Again, I still need to implement a cooldown effect so these powers don't feel too overpowered and the player can just snipe all the enemies from a distance. The final mask, of course, is the yellow mask, with the power being lightning. Right now, I have it such that lightning does not deal any damage, but instead stuns the enemies. Hopefully this helps encourage using the sword more. Before, I had a sloppy PNG image for working with the stun mechanic, but now I want to make it look at least somewhat presentable. I started with working with proper visual effects and shaders, which I definitely learned a lot from this experience. However, since I'm using Unity's universal render pipeline and not the high definition pipeline, the lightning effects turned out, well, not good. Here's a shot of where I ended up getting with the visual effect method. At this point, it seemed to me that a mix of not being able to use the high definition render pipeline, as well as my lack of knowledge when it comes to visual effects, was going to make creating good looking lightning with this method more complicated than I had hoped for. I began looking for other methods of creating lightning, and I found one for using Photoshop and PNG images. Putting more thought into the lightning design and mixing in some animation, here's the current lightning effect that I'm happy with for now. Holding the grip button makes the player's hand glow blue with an electric charge sound playing, and then the trigger button will fire off a lightning bolt and a thunder sound effect. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments, as I'm on the fence of how much I like this effect compared to the other two mask powers. As for the powers, I still want to do more with the hand animations for each of the attacks, but that is some juice I will save for another time. Another big reason for the mask mechanic in this game is since I'm solo developing it, I thought the mask could be a way to get more enemy types out of the same models and animations. I still need to make it so the enemies use elemental attacks, but I did update their character models. First, we'll start with the maskless alien. This enemy type is going to be melee only, which should be pretty straightforward. Next, we have the same alien, but wearing the red mask. I applied the same mask texture to the character's body, but with a different shade of red to make sure that the mask model still pops out. And as you can see, I did the same with the blue and yellow aliens as well. But I wasn't satisfied with simply different color palettes. I want the enemies to seem much stronger when wearing a mask versus not wearing a mask. And I thought, what better way to showcase power other than an aura effect? After adding in an aura effect, we now have Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, and of course, the OG Super Saiyan. And just one final update to mention, I did update all the animations that are being used by the alien enemies so that the mask flows with the animation instead of floating around in La La Land like in previous devlogs and other clips. Just another update that helps make the game look more polished and more presentable. Well, that about covers all the updates for ModMasks for this devlog. Again, I would love to hear what you think about these updates in the comment section below. Which of these updates are your favorite? Are these updates juicy enough? Which ones still need more work? I still need to program all the masked enemies to use their appropriate elemental attacks, as well as continue to make improvements to the enemy AI behavior. I'm not aiming for complicated AAA AI behavior or anything like that, as that is an unrealistic project scope, but I do not like how multiple enemies in the same room end up bunching up in a group. I still have a lot of work to do in this regards, but for now, I'll end this video with some footage of me running around my testing gauntlet with each of the 3 mask powers. If you made it this far in the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, as that is a big help and I always appreciate the support. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.